Hey, welcome back. It is Wednesday, July 22nd. It's 5:35 p.m. And if you already know, you already know. Look what AMD did today. Up 8.4%, setting all-time highs. If only I had owned shares of stock. But the silver lining here is that my cash secured puts that I sold earlier in the week are super safe. So I'm just going to let them expire worthless probably. They do expire not this Friday, but the following Friday. And I'll talk about an interesting thought I had and a quick discussion that we had in Discord that put an idea in my head. And I'd love to get other people's thoughts as to a possible play here on how we can play AMD. But just looking at the heat map here, we can see mostly green on the board, right? It was a mostly green day. Amazon was down a little bit, but Microsoft was up 1.4%. However, if you do look at Microsoft after hours, it took a little bit of a nosedive, I think, because it didn't really have great earnings. So this is not quite accurate as of the making of this video. But semiconductors, I mean, AMD, again, 8.4% up. It just took off like a rocket ship. Micron was pretty much sideways at 0.3%. It was actually a little red towards the early morning, and then it kind of slowly trickled back up to close in the green. Intel, Nvidia also slightly green. Texas Instruments down 2%, but I'm not too interested in Texas Instruments, to be honest with you. Bank stocks, again, red. This is what I thought they were going to do last week. I guess they're just off or delayed by a week. Visa, MasterCard up almost 2%, but big tech pretty sideways to a little green, which is fine. I mean, overall, I would say the market was green today. The Qs and SPY were pretty much green. So overall, decent day in the market depending on what stocks you had and what positions you played. But let's take a look at AMD. I mean, AMD just kind of teased us, right? Because it opened up pretty much flat. It opened up right where we closed yesterday, up 0.1%, up 8 cents from where we closed yesterday. And then from 9:30 a.m. to about 10:05. So in 30 minutes, it just took off like a rocket. It gapped up by 5%, so up almost $3 in a matter of half an hour. And then it slowly bled up all day long until it actually closed the day up about 8.6, 8.5% at an all-time high of just under $62, which is crazy. So let's take a look at my puts that I had, because I had sold cash secured puts expiring on the 31st at the $51 strike price. I mean, those are going to be pretty much almost worthless, right? The only thing keeping these alive is that they're not expiring this Friday and they're expiring the following Friday. If we look at this Friday's expiry, it's probably close to a penny. Yeah, it's $5, right? Today is Wednesday. I'm sure once we open tomorrow, if AMD trades sideways, this is going to go down to like $2-3 at most probably. But like I said, we still have a few more days because my expiration date is July 31st. So they're still alive at $25 a contract, but I sold them at $65 a contract. So I've already made 65 minus 25, $40 a contract, and I sold 2 of those. So I'm already profitable by $80. So just to do some quick math, so I am profitable by $40 divided by, I sold them at 65. So I'm already up about 62% on those contracts. Now, like I said, if you follow the tasty trade method, most people would close out these positions right now, have that cash available again to open up new positions. And that might be a theory or a practice that I might test out in the future. But for right now, I'm happy with where these are. I want to collect that remaining $25 in premium per contract. So that's an extra $50 because I have 2 contracts. So I'm happy leaving them where they are. You know, I'm happy taking a big win like this and just letting it ride to max profit, because I do have other options that are expiring this Friday. So if they also expire worthless, then I will have some dry powder left to open up new positions come Monday morning. Even if all of my portfolio was tied up in these contracts, then yeah, it might be worth considering closing some or all those positions. That way I have money available to open up new contracts. But for the time being, I'm going to let them ride. Now, here's the thought that I had with AMD. So let's take a quick look at the TradingView chart. So I drew these yellow lines because like I've said in my prior videos, based on my very basic technical analysis, it seems as though AMD has been trading in this channel between roughly $49 and roughly $58, or let's just say $49 to $59, just to keep it as a $10 wide gap. And as you can see, that's what these yellow lines represent. And you can see for the past few weeks, dating back to April, mid-April, so actually the past few months, AMD's just been bouncing up and down between these two price levels. So for the first time today, however, it broke above the $59 resistance, or the ceiling, if you will. And not only did it break above that channel, but it also blew past the 100% Fibonacci level. So again, it hit all-time highs at just shy of $62. So it's actually very interesting, because not only did it hit all-time highs, so that's going to make me think that come tomorrow morning, we're going to dip a little bit because there's going to be profit taking, right? Because if you had shares of stock and AMD just gapped up by almost $5 today, you know, if you had 100 shares, you just made $500 in the matter of a day. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of profit taking tomorrow. But the real question is going to be, is where is AMD going to drop and where is it going to stop tomorrow? Meaning, is it going to bounce off the 100% Fibonacci level and bounce above 59 and then trade above 59 now for the time being? Or is it going to bounce back below the Fibonacci level and also back below this channel? It's interesting because if you look at this point in time, actually, when it gapped up very quickly in a short amount of time, it also gapped back down very quickly as well. And as you can see, these areas where it gaps up pretty quickly, the stock price does come back down to earth relatively quickly. Here as well, it gapped up pretty quickly, kind of came back down, came back up, and then ultimately ended up gapping back down. So I wonder if at some point the same thing is going to happen. And when I say some point, I mean some point in the near future where it's going to gap back down to the high 50s or so. And the real question is where is it going to stop? And the other kind of interesting thing is earnings is coming up next Tuesday. And if you look back in time, like at this point, AMD technically, or I should say typically, goes down after earnings. If you go back to the past few earnings sessions, AMD always tends to gap down relatively quickly after earnings. So I wonder, are we just going to stay high up until earnings and then that's going to be the catalyst that causes it to gap down? Or are we going to gap down and dip in the days coming up to earnings? Because if we do that, then are we going to dip even more after earnings? I don't know. Those are the thoughts that are running through my head. But in my personal opinion, and again, this is not financial advice, I think we are going to dip down tomorrow. Because if you look at the RSI curve, it is in the overbought category. So if you look back in time at this point when it was overbought, we sold off a little bit and then more shortly thereafter. Again, at this point in time, we sold off very quickly when it was overbought. Again, here it was overbought and then we sold off pretty quickly again. So if you believe in the past performance of AMD, then you would think, if history is going to repeat itself, that AMD is going to sell off again relatively quickly, whether it's just from this quick run up or just from the earnings or a combination of both. So what I thought was, in order to play that with options, I could do what I say I never do and what I've never done before, and that is buy a put option. So I could essentially short the stock, since history on AMD has shown that it's going to revert back or dip. And not only that, but I think it's going to dip just because there'll be a little bit of profit taking. So I looked into that because I didn't want to take a big risk. So one way I could rationalize it is by saying, okay, I'm pretty sure that even if AMD does dip, it's not going to dip all the way down to $51 in the matter of about a week and a half. I don't think that's going to happen. Just because we had such a big run up over the past few days and weeks that I don't think we're going to lose all of that in a week and a half. So the way I kind of rationalized this was, let's say I have my two contracts at $65 that are expiring the following Friday. Let's say I let them expire worthless hopefully they expire worthless, and I collect max profit. So that's going to be 65 times $2. So that would be $130 of max profit that I would collect if AMD closes above $51 on Friday, July 31st. So if I wanted to gamble a little bit, I could say, well, why don't I buy a put, or why don't I think about buying a put for that same date, July 31st, because that way I have a little bit of time on my side for AMD to dip, and I have kind of two reasons why I think, or my hypothesis would be that AMD is going to dip. And that's because there's going to be profit taking maybe tomorrow or the next day or both. And we have earnings coming up next Tuesday. And I think that may also cause AMD to dip further. So I have two reasons why I think AMD is going to drop in price. So I can profit from that by buying put options on it. But in terms of buying put options, your max profit is essentially unlimited, because in theory, AMD could drop to zero and AMD could go bankrupt. But obviously that is not going to happen by Friday the 31st, right? But in theory, that's possible. And if that happens, then my premium on a put option would just go through the roof, right? I would just collect so much money. It would multiply. It would be like a 10 bagger, right? It would be 10 times or more what I paid for that put option. But obviously that's not going to happen. But the real question is, what is my max loss? Well, my max loss when you buy a put option is just going to be whatever I paid for that option. So as an example, let's say I buy the $62 put option that expires July 31st. Well, that would cost me $340 to buy that put option. So that's a lot of money, right? That's actually a decent amount of return if you're Theta Gang in a week. So I would have to pay $340, essentially betting that AMD is going to close below $62 come July 31st. And the lower it goes below 62, the more profit I make. If we just take a look, like the $63 option is worth $400, $450, $523, $598. So the deeper in the money AMD goes, or the lower the AMD stock price values, the more premium my option is worth. And when you're buying options, you want the premium value to increase, right? Because you want to buy low and sell high. So I want to buy it for $340 and then sell it for $400, $450, $500, etc. So what I said was, you know what? Why don't I buy an option, buy a put option that is roughly equal to the amount of money that I'm going to profit, in theory, from my cash secured puts. So if I let my 51 strike put options expire worthless, I sold them for $65 each, and I sold two of them, so I would collect $130 in profit. So I said to myself, well, why don't I just kind of use that money and use that quote unquote house money to gamble? So I could buy the 57 strike put option that expires July 31st. So again, that would leave me time for a little bit of profit taking for the price of AMD to go down, and also leave me time for AMD's price to go down through earnings. And I could buy it for $121. So the profit that I would make from my puts would essentially pay for this put option that I'm buying. So I'm kind of sort of playing with house money, if you want to think about it that way. And keep in mind that AMD doesn't have to go below $57 for this option to gain value. If it just dips even lower than just where it is now, then this value is going to go up. So my thought was, why don't I buy this put option with quote unquote house money, hold it until at least the day after earnings. So let's say Wednesday morning, this coming Wednesday. So that would be Wednesday, July 29th, the day after earnings. See where this option is trading, because hopefully, if my hypotheses are correct, AMD will drop from where it is now, which would mean that this option premium should go up. And then I could close my position, hopefully with profit. And that way I could have double dipped, meaning I made profit from the cash secured puts because AMD went up, and then I made profit by buying the put because AMD then went down. So what is my best case scenario and worst case scenario in this situation? Well, my best case scenario would be if AMD drops, but does not drop as low as $51. So best case scenario would be for me that AMD drops to $51.01 by end of day, Friday, July 31st. That way, I would collect max profit on my 2 cash secured puts. So I would collect $65 per contract each times 2 contracts, which is $130. And then I would also have my puts that I bought be deep in the money, and then I would collect a decent amount of profit by closing my put position by selling a put for a profit. So that would be the absolute best case scenario, is that AMD drops a lot but stays above $51. That would be absolute best case scenario for me. The worst case scenario would be if AMD just continues rocketing up. So my cash secured puts would still be safe. I would still collect the $130 in max profit on the cash secured puts that I sold. But then the put that I'm thinking about buying, I would be out, let's say the $121, depending on which strike I choose. And this is the one I'm looking at right now, 57 strike put. I would have lost $121. So just to make it even, let's just say this was $130. So it would be a wash, meaning I made $130 in profit by selling my puts, but then I lost it all because I bought a put, which, did not work out for me. AMD's price did not go down, it kept going up. So I think this is a good trade for me because the worst case scenario is I break even. I don't make any profit or loss on AMD for the next, for the past 2 trading weeks. Or the positive or the best case scenario is I make at least $130 plus whatever profit I make from the put premium. So I'm actually really liking this strategy. Let me know what you guys think about this strategy in the comments below. And shout out to a member on Discord. They know who they are. They're the one that actually put this idea in my head. So again, the link in the Discord is scrolling at the bottom of this video. So if you're not in there already, make sure you get in there. There's a lot of smart people out there, and we talk about trades and the market during market hours while it's open. So it's a lot of good information out there, a lot of cool people, just overall having a good time. So make sure you check out the Discord server. But that was my day today. I did not open any positions. I did not close any positions. I just watched the market. Space, I was thinking about opening a position on Space, but Space just kept going up. So I was hoping for a red day on Space so I could open up a cash secured put for good premiums and at a good strike. But it just kept rocketing up. So today was not the day to open up a put on Space for me. But yeah, let me know if you opened or closed any positions today. And as always, happy trading.